We're back for our week 4 best bets here for college football. 10 of them this week, and we're going all 10 money line / spreads. Not doing player props this week. I don't know, for some reason, I'm not big on the college player props. So it's more of an NFL thing for me. It's more of an MLB thing for me. If you want more player props next week, let me know in the comment section down below. But 10 best bets. We're going to have one Friday best bet and 9 on Saturday throughout the day. So we got you covered again for week 4 college football action. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more college football content here on the channel. Earlier in the week, we posted our full week 4 college football predictions. So that's every single game on the college football schedule. We predicted even, I don't know, Boise State Air Force or Southern Miss Louisiana Tech. Actually, you're going to see that later. UTSA, Colorado State, every single game, spent at least 4.5 minutes on each game. That is linked in the description down below. Also, go make sure to check out our NFL predictions. We're going to have our NFL best bets out tomorrow, along with our NFL best player props tomorrow, so you're not going to want to miss those videos. Also on the channel, daily MLB best bets. Tomorrow on Greedo Plays MMA, our Olberg versus Reyes full card predictions for UFC Australia. Okay, on to the first of now, our 10 best bets for the week. Kicking things off with the one and only bet here on Friday. There are 2 games today, but I have nothing for Tulsa and Oklahoma State. I think OK State should cover, but I'm not trusting in that football team right now. Instead, give me the Iowa Hawkeyes to go on the road and beat Rutgers. I mean, this all starts and ends with their defense. There's no other way to put it, and that is just Iowa Hawkeyes football. But if they can get stops against Ethan Kalimankis and Rutgers, well, you better win the football game. I mean, we know what Iowa is. Not a good offensive team, a team that has a great defense, and sure, they scored 47 points last week, but that's against the UAss Minutemen, so you can't put much into that. But the defense is where Iowa obviously is elite. They've been elite for years, and am I saying they have the same defense like they did a couple years ago when they went to the Big Ten Championship with Cooper DeJean and whatnot? No. It's still an all-around good defense that can shut offenses down. And this is the first Big Ten game for both these teams this season, and, this is classic Iowa Hawkeyes Big Ten ball. Go out there, play the best defense possible, obviously, and hope that your offense can score 20-ish points and win you the game. Because that's what Iowa was looking for tonight. Over-under is 46.5. Under probably hits tonight. Probably does. We need Mark Gronowski and this offense to get going. You've got a plethora of backs. It's 3 of them. It's 3 of them that rotate, but for the most part, it is going to be Patterson and Xavier Williams, and you're going to see some Terrell Washington. They got 3 running backs, though, that can run it. Mark Gronowski is going to run the football as well. Passing game, it's not great. Okay, in 3 games, they've thrown for 300 yards. That's not what Iowa does, obviously. It's going to be a run-heavy attack, going to shorten this game, and they need to get out to a lead early. I think they can, because I don't love the Rutgers defense. I mean, I get it, Ohio, Parker Navarro, good team out the MAC. Ohio goes into New Jersey and scores 31 points and almost wins the football game. Yeah, Rutgers beat up on Miami of Ohio, but we'll get to them a little bit later. We'll get to the Red Hawks. But Kalimankis is going to fire it, obviously, right? This is a guy who's been a multi-year starter in the Big Ten. You've got a decent running game as well. Antoine Raymond's the lead back. I think Iowa, though, is ready defensively. I don't think the highest of Iowa State and, just how they've played throughout the season. But when Iowa State beat Iowa, right, you barely get by them. You score you score 16 points and win, and that again is a traditional Iowa Hawkeyes football game. The difference between that Iowa State game and what Iowa Rutgers is going to be for me is just I don't think that the Rutgers defense is going to have that big of effect on Iowa. And I get it, right? The Iowa offense is never going to be the greatest, but I don't think they can hold Iowa to 13 points. I don't think so. I think Iowa and that run game is going to get going. Obviously, right, no Caleb Johnson anymore. I know Caleb Johnson, I guess, which is unfortunate. Most people know Caleb Johnson now for being the guy who just didn't pick up the kick return in that Seahawks-Steelers game last week, which I found so confusing when I was watching it live. I was like, this guy's never kick returned ever. He's always been more of a power back. And yeah, again, once he gets going, he's got breakaway speed, but I was surprised, like, why the Steelers put him there? He's never been that type of guy. Anyways, never did it in college, obviously. He's not like a guy like Tyreek Hill who can kick return, or Jalen Waddle who would kick return in college before the injury. And, it didn't make sense to me. So, but regardless, though, they don't have Caleb Johnson. They don't have an elite back anymore, but they still got an all-around rotation of pretty solid running backs. Gronowski, he's nothing but a game manager. He's nothing but a guy who, he's going to scramble when you need him to scramble. He can keep on an option when you need him to keep, right? That's all Mark Gronowski is. I think we're going to be fine, though. I'm going to go with the Iowa Hawkeyes to win. Yes, it's on the road. I'm not too concerned. I'm not too concerned about them going on the road and winning this football game. Minus 125 on the money line. Yeah, Rutgers has scored a lot of points so far. They haven't played a good defense yet. I mean, the closest thing to that is Miami of Ohio. They scored 45 points on them. Okay, that's a G5 team. Don't care, right? You scored 34 in Ohio, 45 on the Red Hawks, and then 60-10 in a victory over the MEACs Norfolk State. Not moved. Okay. Iowa's going to walk in here, and Iowa's going to win the football game. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes to get it done. Give me minus 125 Iowa Hawkeyes money line on the road in New Jersey. On now to our second best bet of the video. We go to the first on Saturday. Big noon kickoff in the Big 12. I'm going to continue to ride with the Utah Utes. Okay, I know a lot is being made this week of the fact that, yes, Texas Tech's a good football team. They can easily go on the road and they can upset Utah. They can stop this whole Devin Dampier run that they've got going in Salt Lake City. I don't think so. I do not think so. I think Utah wins this game at home. I think they do. Minus 2.5. So I think the official line is either minus 3 or minus 3.5. I'm buying this down to minus 2.5. Okay, I'm gonna give this at anywhere from around minus 135 to minus 140. The value on the money line isn't the greatest. I think Utah's like a minus 150-ish favorite, minus 155. Don't love that. I'm gonna buy down the spread a little bit. I'm not concerned about Utah at all in terms of what they're looking like after last week. The Wyoming game, was it 6-0 at halftime? It was. You win the game 31-6. I'm not concerned. Okay. I have full confidence in Devin Dampier, who, sure, has not played a bigger football game yet in his career than tomorrow on Saturday. I understand that. I think he's going to be even better in the big moment, though. Now Utah is going to be asking him to make even bigger plays on a bigger stage. You're at home. You're in Utah. Big noon kickoff is there. And you have a chance now to establish yourself as, by far, the number one team in the Big 12. You can have Iowa State. Baylor's around. I get that. Texas Tech, obviously, is an elite program. Right? They're an elite team. They're a good team this season. Ranked 17th. Brendan Morton's had a good year. Brendan Morton's been firing the football. We want to talk about how good Devin Dampier is. Well, Brendan Morton so far has 920 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's been phenomenal. He's thrown the ball to 70% completion rate. Running-wise, Tech can run it. I'm more concerned with their pass game, obviously. Brendan Morton last week, sure, it's against those horrible Oregon State Beavers. He throws for 464 yards in Texas Tech's 45-14 victory. They have scored 45 plus in every single game that they've played. Sure, first 2 games are against Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Kent State, but still, they are scoring points. Utah's defense is phenomenal, though. It is phenomenal. And I'll say it all the time with Utah, too. They've been right there. They have. Remember a couple years ago when Cam Rising gets hurt and Bryson Barnes, who now starts at Utah State, had to start. That was supposed to be Utah's year. They were ranked 7th coming into the season, 8th coming into the season. And last year, Isaac Wilson year and whatnot, Rising gets hurt again. Now he's retired, obviously. Utah's been just there, and they just haven't essentially had a quarterback. Yeah, I think Bryson Barnes did all right, but they haven't had that elite guy to push them over the top, and nothing against Bryson Barnes. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks, truthfully, in the Mountain West. He's no Devin Dampier. There's a reason Devin Dampier has gone up for the Mountain West, and Bryson Barnes has gone down to the Mountain West. And again, I've no shame in getting a spot to play at Utah State. That's awesome, right? Going to Logan, Utah, and getting to play. But there's a reason Dampier's here now. There is. He is an elite quarterback in the sport, and Utah's just always been right there. And look what their defense has done so far this year. Make what you want of UCLA, okay? Make what you want of them. I know they're horrible. You stopped them to 10 points in week number 1. That's before all the, here they come. They're losing to UNLV. They're losing to New Mexico, Dampier's former school. Well, week 1, Utah walks into Pasadena, and they beat them 43-10. You hold Cal Poly to 9 points. I don't really care about the CP Mustangs. And then you hold Wyoming to 6 points. I get it, Wyoming's not the best offense, but everything so far has been great. Utah's got one of the better defenses, if not, honestly, the best defense in college football. I'm so serious. It is that good. And I don't think people understand how good it is. And that's now what we're going to see this week against Texas Tech. Because, yes, they are a phenomenal offense. This is going to be the week people start to take notice. And after they beat Texas Tech, there is not another ranked team on the schedule. I believe Baylor will probably be ranked by the time that they get to them, I think. And they got to go to Waco for that game. Maybe, I don't think Brigham Young's going to be ranked. I know they're 2-0 right now, but look at their schedule. They might go to Colorado and lose. I'm serious. Yeah. Maybe not. We'll see. Well, all I'm saying about Utah is the schedule looks good for them. And they are going to be put in a position for the rest of the season. If they can win this football game, they are going to be heavily favored to win the Big 12. They're going to be heavily favored to just make the postseason because there's a pretty good chance I think they finish 12-0. And I said this at the beginning of the year. I said this as soon as Dampier transferred here. They've always had the talent. They've always had the defense. They've always had the O-line. The O-line's always been good. Last year, Isaac Wilson He had time in the pocket, just couldn't make the right reads, and then he sit in the pocket, and then eventually, yes, the pocket's eventually going to collapse. You can't just sit in the pocket for 5 minutes, 5 seconds. So, and here's the thing about Dampier. Gets into trouble, he can just escape out the pocket. He can run. He's one of the best dual threat, if not the best dual threat quarterback in college football right now. I get it, Texas Tech's a good team. I'm taking Utah here. They're at home. This is a statement game, and this is the statement game Utah needs to prove and establish themselves. All right, we're the best team in the Big 12. We're going to the postseason this season, and that's what Devin Dampier was brought here to do. Only a junior, potential NFL pick this year. We'll see. I think if he stays in the year and potentially wins the Heisman next season, he will be an easy top 10 pick in the NFL draft. We will get there, though, obviously. We got to win this game first with Utah. Give me the Utah Utes minus 2.5 at home in Salt Lake against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. On to our third best bet of the video. We move now to UNLV. So everything kind of matches up here, right? UNLV, we just talked about UCLA sucking. Well, this is the game that everyone kind of realized, all right, this team kind of sucks. Not UNLV, UCLA. UNLV is 3-0 this season. They have not lost just yet, I believe. Yes, the 3-0 this season. I was blanking on their third game. It was Sam Houston. They get by Idaho State. Weird game, but they win. They beat Sam Houston, and then obviously they just get UCLA 30-23. Bye week last week, and now you got to go on the road to Oxford, Ohio, yes, and take on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. I get it. Travel's a factor. I get it. You got to go cross country. I don't think they should lose this football game. I really don't think so. The only reason this line is so close is that you're taking a dome team and placing them on the other side of the country and just the travel. That's the only reason the odds are like this. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I believe UNLV would be a pretty sizable favorite if this game was in Las Vegas. Okay? I started off the season super high on Miami of Ohio. I'm no longer high on the Redhawks. Why? Okay. Week 1, going into the season, you get Daquan Finn. Last time Daquan Finn, who's their starting quarterback, last time Daquan Finn played in the MAC, it was 2 years ago. He was at Toledo. They lost the MAC championship, but Daquan Finn, in my opinion, was the best player in the MAC that season. There were a lot of good players in the MAC. Hell, Curtis Rourke was in the MAC that year. I actually thought Daquan Finn, he looked to me like the best player in the MAC that year. Obviously, I was wrong. Curtis Rourke was the best player that year in the Mid-American. However, he goes and plays at Baylor last year. He starts the first 2 games, gets benched for Sawyer Robertson. Robertson, obviously, is now a very good quarterback in the Big 12. Daquan Finn sits a year. I don't know how he got another year of eligibility, but he did. Now he's here in the Mid-American yet again, but not back at Toledo, but at Miami of Ohio. They have struggled to move the ball so far, though. They have heavily struggled to move the football. They scored 0 points in week 1 in Madison, Wisconsin against the Badgers. Last week, they scored 17 points, or 2 weeks ago, they scored 17 points against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And Daquan Finn has been a below average passer. He's still a very good runner, but that's the thing with him. His pass game has always been not the best. But the problem is with Miami of Ohio, Daquan Finn's your leading rusher with 100 yards. Your next leading rusher is Kenny Tracy, who's your lead back, 12 carries, 28 yards. Oh, that's a problem. How are they going to move the ball in UNLV? I mean, I assume they're going to run it with Finn. I'm not confident right now in the pass game of Daquan Finn. UNLV, for as bad as they looked week 1 against Idaho State, they left the Bengals in that one. You go on the road to Sam Houston, you win. And then you beat UCLA last week. Or 2 weeks ago. Calandra has impressed me. I got to be honest. Going into the season, I was not high on Calandra being the starter. I was like, I prefer Orgy. I think that Orgy should be on the field. I think there should be Orgies. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I make that joke every week. That's what I was thinking. Okay, I thought it was going to work better for the UNLV offense, but no, Calandra has been really good. He's been excellent. Yeah, Jaden Thomas at running back, right? Jaden Bradley's their main receiver. I like what's going on at UNLV right now. I do. I really do. Jaden Thomas back for a 3rd year here. It's just, it all makes sense. And they do use Orgy in spots. Oh, here comes Orgy. Let's bring Orgy on the field, run Orgy in, get Orgy out. I think they'll beat Miami of Ohio. I don't think the Redhawks are that good. Yeah, you might be able to score more this week. But then, okay, UNLV is just going to respond. And a lot of what I think, at least the intrigue, or at least just, all right, what Miami of Ohio is feeling good about themselves with in week 1. You go to Wisconsin, you give up 17 points. You just can't score. You did cover 17 and a half, so thank you. But you stay in the football game. So I'm okay with that. Last week, though, you go to Rutgers, and, well, your defense now gives up 45 points. Your offense looks a little bit better, but you score 17. And I get it. These are 2 Big Ten schools. But UNLV is pretty solid. This is a team that obviously, lost the Mountain West Championship last year with Hodge Malik Williams. I think they're going to win the Mountain West this year. I mean, I look at the Mountain West right now. Who's better than UNLV in the Mountain West? Maybe Boise, okay? Potentially Fresno. That's it. Utah, I like Utah State. I don't think they're on this level just yet. Wyoming's got a great defense, right? I mean, again, we'll continue to go over this throughout the course of the year. This is the team to beat, in my opinion, in the Mountain West. I think we're probably going to see them in Boise in the championship game. There's a chance Fresno gets in, right? Outside shot, right? I mean, we'll see about Utah, and we'll see about all these squads. San Jose, maybe. But this is the team to beat. I think they walk into Miami of Ohio and win. I get it's a non-conference game, but UNLV still has playoff aspirations. Because if you go undefeated, and sure, I firmly believe that the group of 5 representatives is going to come out the American Conference, whether it be Tulane, whether it be, we'll see, USF. UNLV could be looking at 12-0, 13-0, and a win over UCLA. We will see. Anyways, though, I'm going with the Run Rebels to win this football game. I'm going to go minus 125 for UNLV on the road. I just think they're too good for Rutgers. I'm not sold on the Rutgers defense no more, and I don't know what Daquan Finn's going to bring. So I'm going with UNLV. On to our 4th best bet of the video. We go now to Durham, North Carolina, as we've got the Duke Blue Devils hosting the NC State Wolfpack. I'm taking Duke. Going with Duke minus 2.5 at home. I get it. Duke has not played the best football recently. They are a 1-2 football team who last week walked into Tulane. They walked into Louisiana. Darian Mensah against his former team, and they lost. Final score is a 34-27 loss. It wasn't that close. It was close. It wasn't that close. So they come back now this week, back home. First ACC game for Duke this year, taking on an NC State team who has technically played 2 ACC games, but only one of them counted because the Virginia game was a non-con game that they scheduled years ago, I guess. I don't know why it was a non-conference, but I know they just added that game. So that's not a league game. It was NC State versus Virginia. But they win that game by 4 points, and they just went to Wake Forest and won 34-24. Good on them for going to Winston-Salem, I believe. That's where Wake Forest is. I could be wrong. And winning. I think it's Winston-Salem. I could be wrong. Never been to Wake Forest. I've been to NC State, though. I know it's in Raleigh. Anyways, that's fine. You win that game, but my goodness, I mean, you keep Wake Forest in the game that much? Wake Forest is winning at halftime. And the point I made at the beginning of the week, and the point that I'm going to make again, is if you're playing Wake Forest that close, and if you do that this week, Duke's going to beat you. Duke is levels ahead of Wake Forest. Wake Forest might be the worst team in the ACC other than Stanford, who I know is 1-0, but I'm still not sold. Virginia Tech, 100%, they suck. And that might be it. I could be wrong. Maybe, I don't know, Boston College after their game last week in Palo Alto. I don't know. Anyways, I'm looking at this game, and I think Duke should dominate. I think they should. I think Duke should dominate the football game. Their losses are Illinois, who is a good team, and Tulane. Sure, their only win's Elon. I get that. Elon's actually not a horrible team in the FCS. I know that doesn't mean anything, though, right? If NC State gives up that many yards to Duke, they're going to lose. And the thing is, you're on the road again, and you're playing a team that's got a great offense that, again, will not give up that lead if you give them that big of a lead. Duke ran into the wrong team last week. They ran into a team that is going to go play playoff football this year, in my opinion, a team that's going to win the American. I think Tulane's going to give a lot of teams a lot of problems. You know how highly I think of Jake Retzlaff, and they're playing today, and we're going to get to them in about 4 minutes here, if that, okay? Darian Mensah is a talent, I will say that. I didn't love him going back to Tulane in terms of, now he's on Duke, he's got to go to Tulane and play this game. He throws the ball 51 times for 313 yards and 3 touchdowns. Okay, again, the final score is a lot closer than the game actually was. Tulane was pulling away for most of that game. Duke is, kind of fighting a way back. It was 34-16, basically in the start of the fourth quarter. So the game was not as close as you think. Duke scores 2 touchdowns. They get a 2-point conversion and then a field goal. It's not as close as the score indicates. But that's okay. That's okay. Duke's offense is good enough. Tulane's a good football team. I don't think NC State's that good. I don't think they are. I think CJ Bailey's good. I like Hollywood Smothers. But what happens when Duke smothers Hollywood? That was horrible. What happens when Duke gets on the ground game and stuffs Hollywood Smothers? That's better. Hollywood Smothers runs the ball 24 times last week on Thursday night against Wake Forest. 24 times for 164 yards. Or was that Friday? I don't know. It's a night game during the week. That's great. Once Duke stops that run game, though, it's going to be a problem for them. Because who hurt Duke last week on the ground? It wasn't Arnold Barnes. It wasn't Javin Gordon. It wasn't Mobley. It was Jake Retzlaff. CJ Bailey can run. He will run. But the run game for NC State is not, oh, let's get our quarterback out there like it is for Tulane. Tulane does both, obviously. But when Tulane actually ran running backs against Duke, they stuffed them. They had to get all of their ground game with Retzlaff, who ran 4 touchdowns on 111 yards, right? I gotta go Duke here. I have to. I don't think NC State's gonna have that, amount of success in the ground game, and I think Darian Mensah is gonna tear this defense up. I think Darian Mensah is going to be great throwing it around this week. So I'm gonna go with the Duke Blue Devils. They're at home as well, -125 or -2.5. It feels right. Okay, it feels right. You're at home. NC State's not as good as they think they are, or at least the record indicates. They should think they're pretty solid, but you're not a very good 3-0 team. Yeah, you won games in the ACC. You beat Virginia, not moved. You beat Virginia, and you beat Wake Forest. The Virginia one's obviously much better, but don't care. Give me the Duke Blue Devils at home, -2.5. They should win this game at home. Next up, we go on to a game that's actually 30 minutes earlier, but that's neither here or there. The Tulane Green Wave on the road, taking on Ole Miss. Tulane's covering. I said at the beginning of the week, I think Tulane's going to win. I still think they're going to win. Not going to risk it on the money line. Let's take 12.5 points with it. Okay? Tulane's getting 12.5 on the road. I think they should beat Ole Miss. I think they should. I watch Ole Miss play. I don't think they're that good. Okay? The quarterback situation to me doesn't really matter. I don't know. I kind of wanted Austin Simmons to play this week. I think Austin Simmons is very raw. I think he's very green. Instead, he is still injured, or I don't know. Again, that's weird to me because he got pulled an hour before the game last week, and they said, oh, Simmons is hurt. We're going to go to Trinidad Chambliss. Okay. It's not like Simmons was playing the best football. Had a good week 1. After that, the Kentucky game, not his best. Anyways, they're going to the senior out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, in Trinidad Chambliss, who last year played D2 ball, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Well, Chambliss, in his only start against Arkansas last week, throws for 353 yards. However, there's a reason he's the backup. Now, I don't know if that's just as simple as, oh, well, we're giving Austin Simmons all this NIL money. You're a D2 transfer. We don't really care about you, so we're going to start our guy who we think is the next Jackson Dart. I don't know if it's that. I would have preferred if Austin Simmons was going to play this week. However, it's still a backup quarterback making his second career start, and now it's different than last week. And I don't know what the plan was. I'm not Lane Kiffin. I don't know what's going on. I'm not creating social media content like Lane Kiffin does, at least for Ole Miss football. So I'm not in charge of this. But we are under the belief, and I don't know if this is true or not because we will never know. I'm under the belief that it was a last-second decision for Austin Simmons. I think they thought Austin Simmons was going to play. Again, there is the theory out there that they just pulled him at the last second and said, we're going to go with the backup. I don't know. However, this week it's been, officially, all right, we are going with Trinidad Chambliss, right? He's our guy this week. So now there's a whole week of preparation. You're the starting guy. We know we're going to you. And yeah, I let that build all week, making your first ever, at least, start with a lot going into it. Now, what's going to happen next week when they play Louisiana State at home? I don't know. I think there's a chance also they're going to overlook Louisiana State. Tulane for Louisiana State. You're playing 2 teams out of Louisiana, and you've got the LSU Tigers coming into town next week, who are ranked 3rd in the country, who have beat Clemson this year. I know that's not the accomplishment that a lot of people thought it was going to be, and who called it? I told you at the beginning of the year, Clemson's not as good as you think they are. Anyways, you might be overlooking Tulane just a little bit, and how good this football team is because of what's coming next week, and because of the gauntlet of an SEC schedule that's coming up after Georgia, Oklahoma, both on the road in back-to-back weeks. That's difficult, right? They've been afforded now 4 consecutive home games, but that leaves 4 really tough road games to close the year. 3 really tough road games to close the season. All right, you got to go to Georgia, you got to go to Oklahoma, and you got to go to Mississippi State. That's going to be difficult. I love Tulane. I do. I know they struggled on the road at South Alabama. That's fine. You've been on the road now, okay? You know you can be competitive. And again, do I think they're going to win 100%? I'm not even asking them to win the game, though. 12.5 points, that's quite a bit for a team that's going to be in the playoffs this season. It's a lot of points. A lot of points. And we know what the American Championship game is going to be. Again, there could be teams that are going to, ruin this. And obviously, the AAC is a good conference. I think the Navy Midshipmen could ruin this. I think Memphis. Hell, Rice yesterday picked up a huge victory to open up American play at Charlotte. That was a really good win for Rice. The 2 teams, again, that I believe it's going to be is Tulane and South Florida. Those are the two best teams in the American Conference. Navy's there. Memphis is there. Hell, the Mean Green of North Texas could get there too. What I'm getting at, though, is that we are going to see a playoff team at the American Conference this season. Because you're probably going to see either an 11 or 12-1 team that has a good, big Power 4 win, winning the conference championship, or you're going to find a 12-0 team that just got by and found a way to win the conference championship too. A Navy, a North Texas, a Memphis, right? Just saying. I'm going Tulane here, though. Ole Miss is not that good. They're not. Watch them play, okay? They are competitive with Kentucky on the road, competitive with Arkansas this week. And sure, those are SEC schools, yeah. You play Kentucky on the road, and I think Kentucky's not very good. Arkansas is solid, but you're at home, and you keep them in the game. They scored 35 points. And, oh, by the way, Tulane Green obliterates Ole Miss on the ground last week. What does Tulane do running the football? It's all Jake Retzlaff. Retzlaff is going to chew this defense up, not just through the air, but on the ground as well. And we will see what Chambliss does in his second career start against Tulane, and again, that you're supposed to win, while, this is kind of being overshadowed at the same time by our big matchup next week against the Louisiana State Tigers. I got to go Tulane. It's the easy bet for me in this game, plus 12.5. You can sprinkle on the money line, but this is my favorite bet for the game, plus 12.5 points for the Tulane Green Wave on the road in Oxford against Ole Miss. We move on now to our sixth best bet of the video. We go to the Apple Cup. The Apple Cup in Pullman, Washington, as we have got the Washington State Cougars hosting the Washington Huskies. I'm going with Wazoo. Yep, I'm taking Wazoo in this game. Taking Wazoo plus money, or at least plus in the spread, plus 19.5. There's a chance we get that at 20.5, and that's great if we do. I don't care. 20.5, 19.5. You can get good money on 20.5, take it. I don't think Washington's that much better than Washington State. I think they're better, and I think they're going to win. What happened last year? And I get it. John Maytier is not playing anymore. And I know. Wazoo just lost by 49 points to North Texas. I completely understand that. I get it. This is just different, though. It's just a different game. And it's as simple as that. If there's one game you know Wazoo's going to get up for, it's going to be this game. And that's a case last week of we're potentially talking about the Ole Miss. You get Tulane this week, and okay, here comes Louisiana State next week, but we're kind of don't really care that much. Obviously we have to win, but our focus is kind of going forward next week. It's kind of what happened to Wazoo. Wazoo was a 2-0 team, and you got UW on the schedule 2 weeks away, but in the meanwhile, here comes North Texas first. We got to go all the way to Texas, play a road game. That's a tough travel for Wazoo because every game's a far travel for them because they're up in the Pacific Northwest. I know they're basically in Idaho, but still, right? You lose 59-10. You look horrible. Okay, wash it. Because that doesn't matter anymore because you're playing Washington this week. And Wazoo at least has the confidence of, okay, we beat them last year. And now, not many of those guys were on the team last year because that's just how college football works now. But you've split with Washington in the last 4 seasons. They've been all right in this matchup. Last year in Seattle, they won 24-19. 2 previous years in 23 and 22, Washington wins, but they win competitive games. Guys, the last time Washington covered this line against Washington State, 2017. 2017 was the last time Washington covered this against Washington State. They beat them 41-14. In 2018, Washington wins the game by 13 points. 2019, Washington wins the game by 18 points. 2021, they don't play in 2020, right? 2021, Washington State blows them out. Beat them by 27. 22, Washington wins it by 18. 23, Washington wins it by 3 points. Last year, Washington wins it by 5 points. Washington State wins it by 5 points. It's hard to get a big blowout in a game like this because these two teams are so familiar with each other, because they play every single season, because it is a rivalry game. On top of that, guys, the game's in Pullman. That makes a big deal. It's a big difference playing over there. It's a tough place to play. If you're Washington, you're going from Seattle to Pullman. It's a different state. It is. Yeah, it's still technically Washington. It's completely different. You go from, you go from the coast, you go from, Seattle, obviously big city, to the middle of, absolutely nowhere. Washington State lives for this game. Washington's got a whole Big Ten schedule to play after. Washington plays Ohio State next week in Seattle. But first, we got to go to Pullman. And it's a team that Washington thinks they can probably run over. Sure, you beat Colorado State by 17 points, though. I think Wazoo's on Colorado State's level. I don't know if they're better than Colorado State. I think they're right there. Well, we'll see next week. They go to Colorado State. But Washington's played 2 games this year. They've had a full, bye week and whatnot to get ready for Wazoo because you beat Colorado State, then you beat UCD last week. Okay, you beat Davis 70-10. I don't know. I think Damon Williams is good. I think this entire offense is Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman's top 5, top 10 running back in college football this season. Damon's good. I'm not, completely sold yet on at least him leading this team this season. I think he's a solid quarterback, but we'll see, Again, Jonah Coleman's going to do his thing, but I think Wazoo's going to stay competitive. Are they going to win? No. But 19.5 points, 20.5 points is too much. Jackson Potter doesn't really take care of the football that much. I'm telling you, though, Washington State's going to throw the book at Washington here. And for Washington, it is a big game. It's the Apple Cup, but you've got bigger fish to fry. I think Washington wins, but I think Wazoo plays them more competitively than a lot of people think they're going to. I'm going to take plus 19.5 points at home, for Washington State in Pullman to cover against the Washington Huskies. We move on now to our 7th best bet of the video. Let's go to a Big 12 matchup. We go to the Baylor Bears at home hosting the Arizona State Sun Devils. I'm taking the Baylor Bears. We are going money line for Baylor at minus 135. This is a no-brainer to me. You put ASU on the road like they have already this season, and they looked like crap. Sure, you go into an SEC environment, you're going to Mississippi State, a team that a lot of people projected to be the 2nd worst team in the SEC this season with Blake Shapen and the guys. They weren't good last year. ASU is supposed to go into Mississippi State, they're supposed to roll them. Supposed to get a big victory going into Big 12 play. They look horrible. And they took the lead, and they should have had it. That's fair. But that's one of those games. If ASU had won, it'd be like, you survived. Congrats. You big 95-yard drive at the end of the game. You had to settle for an 18-yard field goal, and then Blake Shapen finds the guy over the top on a post route, wins the game. It's a tough one to swallow, 100%. But you can't go down 17-0 against Baylor. That's what they did against Mississippi State. Now the Bulldogs let them back in the football game, and jury's still out on Mississippi State. They get NIU this week. They get a really tough game next week against the Volunteers. I have a feeling Tennessee's going to go in there and probably smash them, and I hope we get good odds on that, but that's neither here or there. Baylor's a problem for ASU because Baylor scores every time they touch the football. There's no other way I can put that. That's what Baylor is. They are a team that's going to throw the ball 1,000,000 times. And by the way, they've got a really good running back too in Bryson Washington. It's a good football team. Last week they beat Samford. Okay, well they beat Samford 42-7. It is what it is. That's an FCS school. They're an 0-3 FCS school at that in the Bulldogs. But the victory that they get in week number 2 in Dallas against SMU is a huge victory. They're down 10 points with 4 minutes to go. They find a way to put that game in overtime, and they win it 48-45. That's Sawyer Robertson's best game of his career. 440 yards and 4 touchdowns. And by the way, Bryson Washington, 115 yards. And sure, you give up points to Southern Methodist. There's no shame in that. It's a team that was in the playoffs last season. They were in the ACC championship game. Kevin Jennings at his best is really good. Here's my thing. ASU's not going to score like SMU does. No. The way they're playing this season, no. Is Sam Levitt a good quarterback? He is. Sam Levitt last week made some crazy plays against Texas State. I understand that. He's not right now at ASU. He's what they need, but Sam Levitt by himself in his sophomore season is not enough to carry Arizona State to the postseason and carry them to a Big 12 championship, is what I'm getting to. Great last year for what they asked him to do. He was a freshman starting. Cam Scadaboo was there, and they ran through Scadaboo, and obviously everything Levitt was able to do was working, working beyond what Scadaboo can do. And okay, we're going to we're going to work off of what Cam Scadaboo is able to create in the run game. Sam Levitt has not been great this season. He's done a lot on the ground. His passing numbers are mid. He's not going to complete more than 20 passes probably. And they're going to try to pound the rock. They are going to do that with Raleek Brown, Kanye Udo's there, and Sam Levitt. Those are going to be the guys they run the football with. I just don't think it's going to be enough on the road against Baylor. A Baylor team that legitimately might score every single time they touch the football. It's by far the best offense ASU's seen this season. ASU, I don't think their defense is horrible, but I don't think it's good enough to hold up to this team. And here's the problem. Defense can play how they want to. How is Arizona State going to keep up offensively? How are they going to be able to score an appropriate amount of points this week? That's my question. And ultimately, I come to the conclusion that they won't be able to score enough points. You go to Waco, you go to Baylor. Sawyer Robertson is a very good college quarterback. He does everything you need him to. He's able to launch it downfield, and you've got a good group of receivers as well. You got Josh Cameron, you got Ashton Hawkins, both of which had over or around 150 receiving yards against SMU. And you got a quarterback who's willing to take chances. Sure, he threw a couple picks last week in Sanford. That's fine. You got to iron that out. The game he played against Southern Methodist, though, truly sold me on Sawyer Robertson. And I believe they're going to win this game at home. This is a no-brainer for me. It is. ASU, a lot of what their hype is they were a playoff team last year. No, Sam Levitt's good. He is good. And he's going to be a really good quarterback. And he's going to be a quarterback in the NFL. But he's a sophomore. I'm going with the Baylor Bears at home, minus 135. Sawyer Robertson's one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. I would call him the best, but Devin Dampier exists. And there's some really good quarterbacks as well in the Big 12. Don't get me wrong. But I'm going Baylor money line at home, minus 135. It seems like a no-brainer to me. This is one of my favorite bets of the week. Next up, let's go to a matchup that might be flying under your radar. I don't know, But strap in to the Sun Belt versus CUSA Invitational. They're not calling it that. But Southern Miss taking on Louisiana Tech. 3.5 points is a lot for Southern Miss on the road. Because they should win the football game. They should. They should go to La Tech and win. Guys, this game is going to show you the difference in Sun Belt football and CUSA football. The Sun Belt's better than the CUSA. I don't think it's that close. Here's the thing. This is how I'm going to match up this game for you guys. Southern Miss is a top half team in the Sun Belt. They are. There's some Old Dominion's really good. I think JMU's good. Southern Miss is good. Tech State's still pretty good. I think Arkansas State can be good. Okay, those are my teams, sure, right? La Tech is not a good CUSA team. The CUSA is horrible. But can you even put La Tech in the upper half of the CUSA? They're not better than Western Kentucky. They're not better than Jack State. I think Delaware can give them problems. Okay, actually, there's not many good teams in this. Maybe Liberty would give them a problem. Maybe. Potentially. Maybe UTEP. I don't know. Okay, they are a middle-of-the-pack, borderline top-half team in the CUSA. I'm telling you, though, you are going to see the difference in Sun Belt football this week and CUSA football. It's just the Sun Belt is levels ahead, in my opinion. They are levels ahead. Southern Miss is a good football team. They're a really good football team. This is a team that essentially 80% of the big-time players in this team came from Marshall. This is what college football is, but as soon as last year ended, Marshall's coach goes to Southern Miss, and he takes everybody with him. Most notable, Braylon Braxton, a guy who I thought was going to make that jump and go play in the Power 4. Instead, Braylon Braxton follows his head coach. He comes to Southern Miss, and he's been good this season. Braylon Braxton, as a senior, is a pretty good college football quarterback. I think potentially Braylon Braxton might get a shot somewhere in the NFL as a late-round draft pick. If not, some camp will pick up Braylon Braxton next season. I do believe so. He can run. He can sling it. I overall like the game out of Braylon Braxton quite a bit. I think Southern Miss has got a squad. They do. Last week, they played their first Sun Belt game, and you beat App State 38-22. App State comes in that game 2-0, and Southern Miss does what they're supposed to. After looking a little bit lackluster in the week before against Jack State, against the SWAC's Jackson State, they come back and they look pretty good against Appalachian State. They beat Appalachian State by about the same amount of points they beat Jackson State by. So I'm not going to put too much in the Jackson State game. It is what it is. It's an FCS game. Those can be tough sometimes, especially against Jackson State. It's not a bad team out the SWAC either. Obviously, we don't have Shedeur Sanders anymore or Deion Sanders, but it's fine. I'm not sold on La Tech. They were horrible last year. They were on my ban list last year, and there weren't many teams in the ban list last season, and La Tech was one of them. The 2-1 this year, and you beat up on New Mexico State at home. Okay. It's New Mexico State. They're horrible too, the Aggies, right? That's not a good team. All right, I'm not convinced on them. Again, the bottom of the COSA is bad. Just is. I don't know who the starting quarterback is for La Tech this week. I believe it's going to be Baker. I think it's going to have to be Blake Baker. Trey Kulik will play and has played, but I think Blake Baker's their guy who ran for 103 yards last week, threw for 182. Not the best passer, though. Blake Baker goes 8 for 16 throwing the ball. He's more of a threat on the ground. Southern Miss has got a good defense. Again, they've got pieces on the squad, man. It would not surprise me if Southern Miss wins the entire thing in this, not the Sun Belt, obviously, I'm referring to. But again, jury's still out. I think JMU is a pretty solid squad. I think ODU is really good. And obviously, they've shown that, right? Look what they did last week against Virginia Tech. Look what they did at Indiana. They don't beat the Hoosiers in Bloomington, but they keep the game close. I'm not going to talk about them today, but the Hoosiers are going to beat Illinois. I don't feel the best about that line that's gone up to 6.5 now. Oh, what? Anyways, I'm taking the La Tech Bulldogs. Give me Louisiana Tech to lose, excuse me. I'm not taking La Tech at all. Give me Southern Miss to go on the road and beat this football team. And we're getting points too, which, I don't think we're going to need them. This to me, we've had a lot of these G5 games recently where, I know we didn't hit on FIU last week, but we've hit on picking against Liberty and picking Jack State and whatnot. I think a lot, there's always a couple games every week where I look at the group of 5 games and I'm like, this line is not adjusted right. This is one of them to me. I think they put too much into being at home in the G5 when a lot of these G5 schools don't get anybody at their games. And for me, I don't really, for the Power 4, I do take into account a lot home and away. For the G5, it doesn't really matter that much in my opinion. And here, I believe Southern Miss is a much better football team than Louisiana Tech. So I'm going with the Southern Miss Golden Eagles to go on the road and cover 3.5 points against La Tech. Don't mind the money line, but if we're going to get 3.5 points, we might as well take it. Give me Southern Miss. Next up, we go to our 2 late night games. Michigan State on the road at USC in Los Angeles. I believe 18.5 points is just too much. It's too many points. Is Michigan State good? I don't know about that. I don't know if I can say they're good. Okay? I think they're a decent football team. I think they're a middle of the pack Big Ten football team. But the fact that they're getting 18.5 points to me is just too much. I think they should go in here and cover. USC has looked good against every team that they have played. You only beat Purdue by 16, though. And yeah, the game's at West Lafayette, and I get it. Michigan State's going to have to play this game at 11 o'clock their time, going from East Lansing, Michigan to California to Los Angeles. I get that. It's just too many points in my opinion. USC might score 40-ish, 42, because I'm not sold on the Sparty defense, and I'll get to that in a second. You might score 42 points, but okay. I mean, Michigan State scores 24 and they cover. Wait, no, they score 28 and they cover. No, 24 would cover, yeah. Math, right? Lose by 17 points, they cover the football game. It's too many points in my opinion for USC. They will win. I'm really not that, pressed on who's going to win the football game. I easily think that's going to be the USC Trojans. But if we're given this many points for the Spartans, we're going to take this. Beginning of the week, we didn't know if Mekhi Frazier and Nick Marsh were going to play, both of which were hurt in the Youngstown game. They're both going to play this week. Okay. And yeah, Michigan State did not play well last week. They kept Youngstown State in the football game. Oh, they won 41-24. Watch that game. They kept Youngstown in that one. They could not really get away from Youngstown State. That was a 10-point game in the fourth quarter. And it looked like the game was going to finish a 10-point game until Michigan State ripped off a big run to completely seal it and win by 17. And the thing is now at Michigan State, a lot has been made of, their offense isn't good. Aiden Childs is not, not that great. And I'm still on the fence against Childs. I can't put the season on him right now. And I'm talking about Michigan State like they're horrible. They're a 3-0 football team. But there are kinks in the armor. You beat West Michigan 23-6. You barely get by Boston College at home, which at the time doesn't look horrible. You beat Boston College by 2 points. But then Boston College goes to Stanford and loses by 10 points on the road at Stanford. It was horrible. Against Ben Gulbranson and Stanford. And the Youngstown game, again, yeah, you win it by 17 points. It should have been a 10-point win against FCS Youngstown, who I think might be going up to the FBS soon, but they're not an FBS program yet. You can't put it on Aiden Childs. Aiden Childs has actually done everything that they've asked him to do, except for the West Michigan game. Last 2 games for Childs, he's been solid. I get it, Childs has been, laughing stock a little bit, his whole thing last year. I'll bet my over, and threw for 100 yards, right? And they scored 10 points against FAU to open the season. They scored a little bit more, but still, you know what I mean. He's been all right so far. Been running pretty effectively. He's getting the ball out, and Childs has looked better. Is USC a good program? 100%. They're a great team. They're ranked for a reason. They're better than the 25th best team, in my opinion. Jaden Maivia is very good, and there's a reason that they said, goodbye to Miller Moss and went with Maivia. They've got a great run game with Wayman Jordan, with Eli Sanders from New Mexico. This is a good football team. They're going to score. I think Michigan State's going to score back, and they're going to answer back, right? I have no doubt in my mind USC's not going to win the football game. 18.5 points is a lot. 19.5 points is a lot. I'm seeing 20.5 on some lines. If we can get to 21, oh my goodness. I hope that line keeps on getting pushed further and further. But I'll take 18. I'll take 19. I think Michigan State can cover this football game. I just don't think USC is able to get away by that much. They will score, but guys, the problem with Michigan State right now is not their offense. It is their defense. So sure, the defense is going to give up points. Michigan State's offense should be able to respond enough to the point where they're within 17 or 18 points. I think we're fine here. I'm going with the Spartans on the road. Yes, the travel's a big deal. Yes, you got to go on the road and play this late night game. I mean, the game's not going to be over your time until 3 o'clock in the morning. But they've had they've had 4-ish days out at USC. I think they should be fine. I'm going with the Michigan State Spartans to cover 18.5 points on the road at the Coliseum against the USC Trojans. On to our final best bet of the video. We move to the Hawaii game. It's the only game later than USC Michigan State. It's at 9 o'clock as Fresno State goes on the road to take on the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Give me Fresno State. This is tough because it's always difficult going into Hawaii. It always is. It's their entire thing. You got to fly across the Pacific Ocean just to play them. It's a conference game, but it is the first conference game for both the Fresno State Bulldogs and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Fresno State has looked much improved since their loss to Kansas in week 1. It is what it is. That's a Big 12 team. It's a good team. Since then, they've won 3 in a row. They beat Georgia Southern, but they just completely take over with the run game in the second half. You beat Oregon State, which, if Oregon State had a long snapper, they probably win, but it's okay. And then last week, I know it's the Southern Jaguars coming out the SWAC, but I was impressed last week of what we got out of the quarterback play of Fresno State, because that was the thing to me where I was like, I can't back this team because I don't know what E.J. Warner is going to be. Is E.J. Warner going to be elite? I don't think I can say that. But if he can just do a little bit more than just being a straight game manager, because that's legitimately all they ask out of E.J. Warner, just be a game manager. Hand the ball off, make the right throws. That's exactly what he did in the Oregon State game. That drive where they kick the field goal, take the lead. It's all they asked out of Warner. Make the right reads and make the right plays, but we don't need you to be Superman. Last week against Southern Jaguars, I think E.J. Warner finally found it. He came into last week's game with 500 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Well, he throws for 250 yards last week and 4 touchdowns. It's a great win. Great win. He throws 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter, throws 4 in the first half. He's taken out essentially early in the third quarter. They dominate the Southern Jaguars. And I get it. That's a SWAC team. It's an FCS school, sure. But if we get that type of performance alongside the run game that we know it's already good with Bryson Donaldson, with Rayshawn Luke, with Elijah Gillum. They've got 3 very competent backs. I know Gillum has been getting the short end of the stick recently as a third-string guy. But you got 3 running backs who can run it. Against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who I am on an all-time low on. Guys, look how they played Portland State last week. Portland State might be the worst team in the FCS. I know they're the worst team in the Big Sky. And Hawaii beats them by 20 points. They're starting Luke Weaver now because of the injury to Micah. Okay, I'm not sold on Luke Weaver, who's a junior out of Manteca, California. They win the game 23-3 against horrible Portland State, who again is one of the worst FCS schools. And yes, Portland State had to deal with the travel going all the way from Oregon down, through the Pacific or across the Pacific to take on Hawaii. They're just not that good. They aren't. And they caught Stanford week 1. Stanford's not good either. You beat Sam Houston, but again, Sam Houston's going on the road to play you, and don't love that. You go to Arizona, you get blown out. And again, I think just the quarterback change and Luke Weaver being there makes them a lot worse. I'm looking at Fresno right now, a team that's playing great defense. They're playing pretty solid defense. Say what you want about Oregon State. Malik Murphy's a talent. He can sling it. It's just everything else around Malik Murphy is not the best. He does make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Like the end of the game, pick 6, that's a mistake. But Fresno State's defense is solid. They shut down Georgia Southern. J.C. French and the guys have nowhere to go after that first half. I mean, again, that game, week 1, for Fresno State was a huge, tipping point, turning point in their season. Either they could lose to Georgia Southern at home in Fresno in the Valley and go 0-2, or you find a way to beat Georgia Southern after you go into halftime down 13-14. You put 28, 29 uncontested, unscored consecutive points on Georgia Southern, and your defense bears down. And now here you go, you're 3-1. And now we're talking about Fresno State like they could potentially win the Mountain West. Again, I talked about my elite teams in the Mountain West: UNLV, Fresno, Boise, maybe San Jose, maybe Utah State if they can get going. All the other teams, New Mexico beat UCLA. A lot of teams in the Mountain West would beat UCLA right now. Probably everybody but Nevada. I'm serious. I think everybody but Nevada right now in the Mountain West could beat UCLA. Maybe Nevada, if you get that game in Reno, maybe they get them. Air Force might have some trouble too, but I don't know. I haven't seen enough out the Falcons yet just because they played 2 games and one was against Boise. So, or Utah, excuse me. I'm going with Fresno State here. 2.5 points on the road. I don't think Hawaii is able to move the ball this week without Micah and with Luke Weaver, and I think Fresno State's found something. I think EJ Warner has found something, and when you get a quarterback playing with confidence, it just changes everything. Because now, again, the mindset in Fresno is, okay, well, we're 3-1. We lost week 1 on the road. That was a bad loss, but now our quarterback's feeling confident. He's thrown 4 touchdowns in one game after throwing 0 in the first 3, and you need a game like that against the Southern Jaguars to just get going and build confidence with everybody. And again, it's not like EJ Warner is now going to be asked to throw 4 touchdowns every single game. That's just there if you need it. But you still have Donaldson, you still have Rayshon Luke, and you still have Elijah Gillum. You have 3 running backs who can carry the football a lot. So I'm completely fine with Fresno here on the road. Again, late night game. It's a Hawaii game. I get it, weird circumstances, but it's a business trip, and it's the first Mountain West game. You know, both teams are going to be fired up, but Fresno State has playoff aspirations still, in my opinion. So I'm going to go Fresno State to beat the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Both teams should have playoff aspirations, but one team has their starting quarterback who they paid in the offseason. So, yeah, I'm going with Fresno. EJ Warner and the Fresno State Bulldogs go on the road and beat Hawaii -2.5 on the spread. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college football best bets here for week number 4. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.